an ESM technology that extends the value of ITSM. Welcome, Eileen. Thank you for joining us today. Great to have you with us again. I'm hoping Eileen is there.
Hi there, good to be back with SDI. I'm just checking you can see my screen.
Yes,
great.
Absolutely. It looks fantastic. So over to you, Eileen.
Okay, so thanks for the introduction. Yes, I'm Eileen, General Manager here at WM Promise. We're a software services consultancy. Now, we work across a lot of areas, but the one that we're interested in today is ITSM, ITOM. Now, we also work in the cloud DevOps space and with robotic process automation. We partner with lots of vendors and we work with lots of different ITSM tool sets, but the one that we're really keen on at the moment is Microfocus's offering SMAX, and that's what I want to show you today. So we think it's a standout product in terms of many aspects, obviously ITSM, like delivering IT services, but especially for ESM. And it's through our RPA work, robotic process automation, that we've come into contact with lots of non-IT departments, and we can really see the value that ITSM can bring to other functions in the organization. Things like in terms of good practice, using existing standards, knowledge sharing, you know, and also technology. Now, I haven't got lots of slides today. I've got two here before I go into the demo, but what I do just want to talk about a little bit is the whole ESM thing, because I don't want this to just be an ITSM demo. It really is about ESM. So in terms of IT, we're used to the term service. You know, people are used to, you know, can you change a password for me? Can I get a laptop and so on, providing system access? All those sort of similar activities have long been seen as a service within the IT division of an organization. And we've made huge progress in terms of how to deliver those services and technology, the technology that's available now to support the delivery. I mean, some of the demos we've seen today, you know, it really is out there in terms of making service delivery easy and efficient. And what we want with, and there's a big drive now, of course, to make the customer experience feel, you know, simple, fluid, natural. So in an ideal world, people within the organization requesting services, you know, whether it's I need a copy of my P11D or I want time off or whatever it is, they would like that regardless of what they need, the experience always feels very much the same. It's always simple. It's always, it's natural to them because they ask in the same way each time. And there's definitely been a shift in thinking and a realization that even though human resources, finance and other departments have always offered services, they may not be using frameworks or principles to manage the delivery of those services, whereas IT, although it mightn't have all the answers, is accustomed to using frameworks and principles. So, you know, a service is a service no matter whether it's IT or it's non-IT. A service needs to be defined, created, rolled out, supported, improved, all of that type of thing. All of the stuff that SDI have been talking about for years about doing in a governed and actually process-driven way. So when SDI told me that the event today was focused on the considerations required for successful ITSM tool selection with ESM adoption, I gave it a lot of thought, and there's tons of information out there about what we need from a tool that supports ESM. And here's some of what I have on the slide here in front of us. So, you know, you do know what an organization should expect and what employees should expect in some ways, because we're used to consuming products and services from companies like Amazon, Apple, and so on. We know that people are tech savvy nowadays. They're in their day-to-day life, they use online banking services and so on. So people know what technology-backed service feels like. They're comfortable being online. They're familiar with using chatbots. They want to have the option to call their service providers, but they do like that they can do stuff from their mobile phone on the move anytime they want to. So that's something to look at when we're looking at key areas of ITSM that are relevant to ESM. That whole thing of customer focus. Customers need to be able to do stuff when they need to be able to do stuff, and they need to be able to do it in a manner that's familiar to them, and that's not driven by the service provider. We're especially seeing that during the COVID-19 crisis, because there's a lot more people working from home. There's a whole new situation for IT and business departments who've had to deal with the new and an increasing demand for services such as VPN access or ordering work equipment or whatever it is. So customer focus really, you know, businesses really need to rethink their approach to providing employees their services. So service oriented. So as I've said already, ITSM by its very nature is service focused by the name, ITSM Service Management. And there's lots of bodies out there, standards bodies and guidances such as ITIL, that describes how all the components and activities of an organization work together as a system to enable value creation. So that's something definitely that you would want to have, whatever technology you're using is built around standards and good governance and so on. As well as that, good practice. So that leads on to the same thing, good practice. So, we know, as I've said, we know that there's standards like IT for IT, ITIL, and so on. And your IT department generally has those already embedded in whatever tool they're using. I want to show you SMAX. I'm showing you SMAX today because one of the things is when you buy it out of the box, it has got embedded good practice within the actual tool itself. Now, having said that, obviously, it's not just about the technology, but as we know, in terms of if you're going to pick a solution, it makes sense to pick one that comes with all of that out of the box. So service checks and problems and so on. So the tool you buy, obviously your expectation is that it can, generate tickets, can automatically notify people that there's a task assigned to them, all of that stuff. The concept of a centralized area to manage everything, it's core to how we deliver IT services. And you would expect your solution to do that. And what you would expect is it also facilitates the other business functions to be able to do the same thing so that ESM can lean on the ITSM technology to build and grow so that regardless of the business area that the ticket is aligned to, the service is managed in an efficient and continually improving manner, just as you currently now do with incidents and problems and so on. Knowledge, and I noticed that was a question that came out from the end of the last demo. Yes, knowledge is critical. It's the backbone of efficiency. Being able to easily access and tap into everything from issue solutions to what processes there are if I want to take leave and so on. We really do need knowledge, and it's fundamental to the technology that is going to be used to support ESM. Self-service. So decades ago, people used to wander up to the IT desk or they would send an email through and so on to signal that they needed some help. But these days, most organizations, if not in place, it's certainly in their sightline, is to have a service portal, which allows employees to go to sort of a one-stop shop. And what they'd like that to be is a one-stop shop regardless of the department. So if they need a new laptop bag or they want to book travel next Wednesday, or they want to find out about annual leave or whatever it is, they'd like to go to just one place to do all that instead of having to go to an online form in one case or to an IT portal in another place and so on. The other expectation I would have for any technology that's ESM ready is that it would have workflows in place, easy visualization of the service delivery process, any transitions across the stages of that process and so on, any notifications that might come out, and so on. I would expect that to come out. I would expect that to be embedded within the tool. Also with automation, I would like that I could automate stages within that workflow to deliver further savings of time and money and so on. So one that comes to mind like straight away, it's something we do all the time here at WM Promise and Microfocus delivers with SMAX, is it's really common that when you've got a new team member coming on board, whether they work in IT or whether they work in HR or in another department, you would like some kind of employee onboarding workflow that would automate perhaps the addition of an AD account, an Active Directory account, and so on. So that's something we regularly do with SMAX. So in terms of intelligence, what are we looking for? We're looking for things like, if I want to search for information, I would like to be able to use natural language. So I'd like natural language. I'd also like some virtual agents or bots that can help me when I'm searching for information. I'd also like analytics. I'd like it to be able to help me number crunch to work out how to make improvements in terms of changes I have in the system or whatever. I'd also like to be able to gather metrics from unstructured data. So from surveys, I'd like to be able to gather data from surveys and to give me some analysis on where I could improve. I'd like some insights. I'd like some insights based on machine learning. How often do people access certain offerings on the portal and whether or not they should appear first when people go to search for items and so on. I'd like to be able to analyze trends. There's a whole load of stuff that I would like from a tool if I was going to have it if I considered it ESM ready. Now, the last bit here I have is key to whatever technology you have in place. It needs to be easily upgraded. It needs to scale as you grow. You need to be able to onboard new services without massive outages or long projects. So it might be that you start your ESM solution with you've got IT in place, and now you might reach out, for example, to the HR department, and they're very happy to have employee onboarding and so on as a service that they offer as part of this ESM solution. But you don't want that to be a 9-month project and lots of outages for what you're already delivering with the technology. I don't want installation to be complex. I don't want to have increased costs, license add-ons and so on. So as I improve my ESM solution, I don't want the technology to incur massive costs in terms of who's using it. So, you know, obviously I want my portal to be free. So, I mean, obviously we're not forgetting that the tool is just a tool, and we have to have everything else in place to make sure that we're able to deliver what we said we'd deliver. Right, let me move on now. Let me come out of here. I'm hoping you still see my system. So let me just show you what the kind of stuff that SMAX delivers in terms of the considerations I've already talked about. So we've talked about what we need from an ESM solution. So I think this is what an ESM solution looks like. So here's the portal. So the portal is where all of your customers or your end users would land, regardless of what it is they want. It's the centralized location. So I've, you know, got some stuff here, the obvious stuff like, you know, fixing something on your phone or your mobile, something for printers. But I've also got stuff here for human resources, facilities, training courses that are offered and so on. Now I can add lots of other departments to this portal. For the moment, this is all I have here. But adding on new departments doesn't require massive projects. In fact, the training one, I did it yesterday, I think in about 15 minutes. There's a marketplace available, which I'll show you later, which lets you download for free lots of other options to have here on your portal. Now, the other thing that it's important to point out is not everybody has to see the same portal, because you may not be offering the same services to everybody in your organization. So the portal can be very easily altered based on entitlements, which groups of people or which individuals are entitled to ask for different services. The other thing you can do is up here on the left, I've got this branded with Microfocus's title, and I've got a call service portal. But I can actually customize this. Again, it doesn't require any knowledge of code. It's literally drag and drop and click. If you want to change the colors, if you want to change the pictures here, the text, if you want to change the logo and so on. So in terms of the customer experience, let's look at this. Let's look at the virtual agent. So we talked about chatbots and what it could do. So what would I like to be able to do? Okay, so what I would like to ask Max, and that's the name of my virtual agent, is I'm going to tell Max that I've moved to a new location. And see what Max can do for me. Okay, so Max is saying, would you like, and I would, yes, please, that's what I would like Max to do. And then obviously Max needs some information. How would I like to be contacted? By email. And Max is now asking me, you know, is this affecting your work? I'm like, no, I'm happy, I can continue to work. But obviously what Max will need is my new address. So let me just say 123 Main Street. Okay, that's my new address. And I'm going to post that now for Max. And I'm not worried, I haven't changed my number. So do I want to change any other things? No, I don't. Okay, and now I'm hoping that Max will go off and do what it is I need him to do. And yes, my request has been, my request has been successfully created. And look, my request has also been resolved. And that's because we have a service offering, which is to edit your contact details. And we've built an automated solution off the back of that, which will automatically go and update the people data section of the HR that I have in here. So what you can see is that the end user is supported by the automated bot. It guides me down through the preferred path by asking me the questions. I'm able to use natural language. The bot interacts with me, the user, through the natural language. And in a matter of seconds, the automated part of it meant that I had my request resolved. Okay, so one of the other things I mentioned was the ability to have intelligent search. So up here, you can see that I've got a smart search bar, and it's just like Google search. It just uses natural language. So let's say I wanted to find out maybe how to set up email on my mobile. If I type in email on my mobile, What the intelligent search does is it uses big data search to provide suggestions from a variety of sources. Now that could be articles, knowledge articles, because there's a knowledge base that's embedded in the system. It could be a support offering. It could be some FAQs that are in the system and so on. It could be news. It might be news that's out there about an issue that's related to the free text that I typed in. Now, if I wanted to choose this support offering here, or I wanted to read the article, I would just click on those to proceed. Let's just click on the article. Okay, and what we can see here is that I can have, oh, I've turned off the video, but what you can do is have videos embedded in the articles. Not only that, but I can add feedback about this article if it was useful to me, and I can indicate that it was helpful. Now, the more feedback and the more involvement, as with anything, this allows the system to then further build through machine learning on what might be useful to end users, okay? The other thing that's worth mentioning is you can have on-the-fly translation provided to end users with access to the portal content and service desk updates in whatever their preferred language is. And I'm not going to call out all the languages, but they're easily available to check out on the Microfocus website. There's a huge number of them. So if I'm an end user, what I would also like to be able to do is to be kept up to date with communications. I'd also like to be the one who's allowed to decide whether or not the resolution to an issue I raised is acceptable, whether or not it suits me. So the system automatically sends out emails. There's notification by email, but also once I'm logged into the system, up here on the right, I can see what's going on in my world. I can see if there's tasks for me to do. Now I'm logged in as Jennifer Lawrence here today, and Jennifer is actually part of the CAB group, so she's got some approvals going on here. But also Jennifer, just like anybody else, has asked for some services to be provided to her. So here's one where she did actually have, she raised a request, and at the end of it, it was resolved and closed off. But now Jennifer's being asked whether or not she's happy with the service that was provided. And I can take on survey. Now I don't have to do it, I could have skipped it, but you can see here embedded in the tool is our satisfaction surveys. Now the satisfaction survey will be sent out to me by email. I can respond to it in that way, or I can respond here when I'm logged into the portal, or I can just ignore it if I choose. Now generating surveys is very, very easy to do. Again, there's no code required. You can just indicate whether or not you want to do it by using a large text box, whether you wish to use buttons such as this, or whether or not you wish to use smiley faces. I've had a combination of them here just so that you can see what it looks like. The other thing I really like is that you can number crunch on the surveys based on the analytics tool that we have in the background. Okay, so what other kind of stuff can I do? Okay, what I can do is if I have a request open and it's reached the resolution phase, I can be the one to decide that I'm happy with the resolution by easily clicking on accept here. Okay. And then I may get a survey depending on whether or not I have a survey aligned to that service offering, because you can choose, you may not want to have surveys running against all your service offerings. So what else would I expect from an ESM ready solution? Well, I would expect social collaboration. So the concept of communities online, which are so common nowadays. So it really reflects how people work in the real world. They have online communities, but they also have communities within the workplace where they ask friends for help. So I can post a message here, and anybody else who wishes to, and it's very common in the IT world that you have communities of people who wish to get involved in providing information. Now, the obvious worry is you think, oh, but is that knowledge going to be lost? Will that knowledge, the answers therefore, not become available to the wider community? You can do that by, again, using the analytics tool, and I'll show you that later, which number crunches through, data crunches actually, through all the information so that you can then create knowledge articles off the back of the answers, the questions and answers that are generated by the community. The other thing I can do is I can suggest ideas. So it might be that I'm suggesting an idea about how we work. It could be where I have the water cooler. You guys should move the water cooler from the cloakroom. This isn't a good thing. And you can propose ideas. And again, with the analytics tool, people can very easily go through all the ideas that were proposed and see which ones are most frequent based on the text, just all of the text, the unstructured data that appears in the descriptions of the ideas. Okay, so let's go back. When I talked about it being an ESM solution and it's ready for more than just IT departments, let's click here on human resources. So you can see here, when I do that, what it comes up with is offerings, articles, and so on. It would be news if there was news related. If I go to, let's say I want to find out something about my family and medical leave. Okay, this is an article and it tells me something here. And oh, look, I can see that Amy Lopez, she said actually what was useful for her was that she found out the number of hours that actually encompass her annual leave. So I might say, oh, that's very helpful for me too. I can also rank that article. And the rate solution like this will improve the knowledge base and make it make the article appear higher up the list when people are looking for based on free text such as FMLA. Okay, so let's have a look now at how, let me move just one second here. So what about if I need a passport? Right, let's type in I need a passport, because what I want you to see is how workflow automation is set up. Okay, and there's an offering for requesting a letter for passport application. It's asking me why I might need this. Okay, so I'm just going to say conference in LA next week, as if, and then click submit. So it's very easy to submit a request. Okay, and the other thing about submitting requests, there is an optical character recognition built into SMAX, which allows you to automatically classify, it allows you to automatically put in graphics and so on, and SMAX can recognize the text within a graphic, and based on that, it can accept and classify and intuitively route a request based on the text that appears in your graphic. So that's another really great feature of something that we would consider as being ESM ready. Right, I'm just going to move now. That's what the portal looks like. If I move now to how the world looks like for the people who are actually delivering the service, they land here on the dashboard. There's tons of information here in the dashboard. Some of it's analytics, some of it's based on trending. I can export stuff that's here in the dashboard. I can export stuff into CSV, into PDFs. On the fly, I can change what I see. For example, here where I've got support requests by group, on the fly, I can just remove some of those parameters by clicking on them like that, remove some of the parameters to change my report on the fly. I can add reports by clicking add and then choosing a report that appears in the back end of the system and it will automatically be added to the dashboard. Right, I'm just going to cancel out that because, oh, there it is. So you can see here, there's a whole range of reports that I can choose. It's very easy to build your own ones. So like, for example, if I was just to add a report like that, there we go. That's how easy it is to add a new dashboard. And that'll take a second to refresh and have data in it. Okay, but what I want to do is to move to the list of service requests. So as you saw, let's save that. As you saw at the previous demo, what people working on delivering services need are lists of tickets that are assigned to them or that they're working with. So I'm going to move back to the service requests now that that's been saved. Okay. And there you'll see is the request and e-letter that I asked for. I can move through to other you can build inboxes and lists. It's very easy on the fly to filter all the tickets and have lists built for whatever your criteria on. They might be based on particular services, they might be based on departments, they might be based on who they're assigned to, whether that be a group or an individual and so on. So it's very easy, you know, as you would expect that from any out of the box. You would expect that out of the box from any basic ITM system. But let's drill in here to this particular request where I asked for my passport to be sorted out for me. Okay, so here on the left, you've got lots of different tabs, but the one I want to show you most specifically is the workflow. Okay, so what you've got is out of the box workflows are available for all of the different types of tickets you might be handling, whether that's an incident, a problem, whether you've got a knowledge article to create a change or so on. You can actually edit the out of the box workflows that come. The application I created, the training one, I created my own workflow. It's literally drag and drop. You can have little rules that run as you transition through the phases. Again, no coding experience really is needed because it's drag and drop and picking from drop downs as to what you want to have happen and so on. So The other thing that I feel is necessary for an ESM solution, which we talked about, was hot topic analytics, So if I move from here, I'm just going to show you problem management, just very briefly. So SMAX has all of the things you would expect in incident and problem management. So it's got all the stuff you'd normally expect, including it's got a workflow available. Because as I said, workflows are available for all of the different types of records in the system. So I'll just convince you of that by just clicking into one of the tickets. There we go. So that's the workflow for a problem. But as I said, I just want to show you what I really like here is the analytics side of this tool, which I think you need to have for an ESM solution. So you can see here what the system's doing is based on not the categorization of the incidents, but on the unstructured data and the categorization and all the other fields and tickets. It's showing you what words are coming up frequently, and based on those, a sort of a heat map of what you might want to be looking at. So it could be that if I start looking at viruses, there's lots of incidents coming up based on that. And it might be that I would like to select several of these and from the back of those create a problem. So you can see the analytics side of it makes management, problem management, or perhaps knowledge management far easier for those people who are delivering the service. So as I said, you've got a similar thing in knowledge management. So let's just look at the analytics part of knowledge management. So remember those user questions that I showed you people on the portal could raise? So here I've got a heat map of the user questions that are being raised. And what I might notice is that there's a lot of stuff coming up about with the word company in it. And if I scroll down through it, I might think, actually, based on these user questions and answers, I really need to create, and I'll just choose, this is all dummy data. I need to either create a knowledge article in my knowledge base, so that's going to be formally managed and not just be out there in the community, or perhaps I need to create a support offering. Okay, so as I said, it's all codeless configuration. It's very, very easy to manage. Now I'm conscious that I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to show you how easy it is to build an app, but what I am going to show you is that there is a marketplace available, and within that marketplace, there's lots of stuff that you can access around expense management, around celebrating excellence, certificate management, gift distribution, stuff free from Microfocus that you can add to your SMAX system, again, to make it more ESM ready. Right, let me just go back to where we were with my slide deck. So these were the criteria that I think you need to have an ESM system. So I tried to sort of zip through most of these as quickly as I could and tick the boxes for a thumbs up for SMAX being able to do that. And as we know, all of this is heading in one way. All of it is so that the technology that underpins the enterprise services you deliver supports you increasing productivity, making the people who receive those services happier, getting back a return on the investment you've made into IT, making it easier to see what you're delivering and therefore control it and improve it, cutting down on waste and sharpening your competitive edge, because that's where sustainable and profitable growth is. Okay, thanks very much for listening to me, guys. I've got a phone number up there and I've got our site and an email address. If you want to reach out and ask any questions about the system or see another demo or talk to me about ESM, it's one of my hobby horses, I'd be delighted to hear from you. Thanks so much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Eileen. And it's a really in-depth overview there. Lovely. Thank you very much indeed. And I think you'll be joining us a little bit later as well on our first Q&A. Yeah, so we look forward to answering some of the questions we've had. Then we've had one through. Mark, we'll get to that one. It's a good one for everyone, I think. So we'll come to that on the
Brilliant.
Q&A.